Welcome to Lever Up Your Life. I'm Nate Barger. I went from prison time and bankruptcy to now owning over $200 million in real estate. I want to show you guys all the mistakes I made so you don't make the same mistakes. It's time you create massive wealth for yourself. Hey guys, thank you for joining us on LeverUp Podcast. I got a special guest who's been able to lever up not just his life, but over 15,000 people that have joined him and let him teach them the way. Ray Higdon, welcome to the show, brother. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, man. So where are you at today, brother?
I am in Naples. We live in Naples, Florida, and I have a little office here that I go when I'm batching a bunch of videos or something like that. Normally I'm at the house, but every once in a while I'll sneak into the office.
Yep, awesome, man. So was that where you were born and raised?
Oh, originally from Indiana. I'm originally from Seymour, Indiana. My wife, I know that you guys do some things in Ohio. My wife is actually from Chagrin Falls outside of Cleveland.
Oh, awesome, man. Awesome. So you guys left these crappy states and went south. I don't blame you. Do you get back home much at all?
Visit them every once in a while.
Yeah, for and then you're out, right?
Yes.
hey, so man, tell us about growing up, man. I interview so many people, and your story resonates with me, and I'm sure so many of the viewers. Growing up, what were you taught about finances? What were you taught about life? What were you taught that your life was going to be like, or at least people thought that's what your life was going to be like?
Yeah, when I was very young, I think I was maybe 3 or something like that. My parents got divorced. My dad remarried. My mom went through some tough times, so I was living with my dad and my stepmom. And my stepmom was very abusive, and so dealt with that until I was 12. As far as being taught about money or anything, I really wasn't taught much. I mean, my dad did well, but he never talked to me about making money or anything like that. But I knew that I had some kind of interest or some kind of knack for making money and wanting to make money. In the 6th grade, I used to sell airheads. And so that's little happy things, right? So I located a place where I could get them for, I think I was getting them for like 10 cents each. I was selling them for a quarter, and I was moving 90 to 100 a day.
Wow. So hey, you guys hear that? Ray just told us his age. He was buying airheads for 10 cents. No.
Well, I mean, it was like this one store that sold them for 10 cents. Everywhere else was like 15, maybe 20, maybe 25. And so they actually instituted the anti-candy policy due to me at that school.
Good job, Ray.
Yeah. But I always knew I wanted to make money, and I enjoyed, making money. But I really had to learn it all on my own. I mean, there's really no one in my family or anything growing up that taught me about it. And so, I just went with what everyone was telling me and just, work hard. And, I worked my way up in the corporate world to, pretty high paying salary, especially for someone who, I didn't finish high school on time, never finished college. And, but I saw some of my buddies crushing it in real estate, and I'm like, man, I could do that. If they could do that, I could do that. And so I left the corporate world back in 2005 and never went back. Had my ups and downs, had some success in real estate, lost it when the real estate market crashed, and then I've created success in other avenues since. And so, I've had a lot of ups and downs. I've learned a lot, and been able to help a lot of people too. And so it's been really rewarding being an entrepreneur and being a coach, being a speaker, being an author. And so, love to help.
But Ray, you're saying all that, but you're being very humble about it. In 2005, and just reading your stuff is like you kind of, I don't want to say despise corporate America, but you knew that there was so much more and you wanted to take a chance. You started the same year in real estate as I did, 2005, which was like, I don't know, man, probably the worst year you could start because it was just enough to start getting your feet wet and deciding I'm all in, and then jink. So what was that like? Because
I know you went through a lot. You lost your house. You know, you lost everything, man. You lost your wife. You know, it was, and then you even talked and tell people. You even kind of lost your self-esteem.
Yeah.
You know, so how were you able to build back so quick? And what would you tell people? I mean, there's people out here struggling, man, and you need to hear your story. You know, if you haven't heard Ray's story, what would you tell them? Because you are the master at mindset. And I tell people in the first week of my academy, listen, if you cannot change your mindset, there's nothing I can do for you.
Yeah.
So,
and good for you for teaching that, because that's the truth. You know, most people, they're looking for the strategy, they're looking for the tactic, they're looking for, you know, how do I negotiate, or, you know, how do I buy at a great price, or you know, something like that. And it really is your mindset. And it comes down to one very simple fact, and that is you have to see things the way you want them to be before they are.
Oh, wait. Back up. You have to see things. Say that again.
You have to see things the way you want them to be before they are.
That's great, because listen, Ray, me and you have never talked about this, but this is what I tell people. Build the goal out, get the education. Do not change the goal unless you want to make it bigger, right? He's telling you the same thing. And this is what people that have failed and then succeeded again, nothing's going to be as you plan. Don't worry about that. You know, if you're looking for easy, work your corporate job, right? Work your corporate job and then tell your kids that you can't help them out because you ain't got no money. But what he's saying, I think, build the goal out and then just you're going to get there. It's day one, it's going to change. If you built this plan out, you say, what am I going to do now? It's not going as planned. Who cares? Adapt or die, right?
Yeah. So I'll give an example that I think everyone can resonate with. And, you know, because I'm sure there are people on here that have made lots and lots of money like yourself. And then there's probably some people on here that, you know, haven't, right? And so for those that haven't, sometimes money stories, they just go over their head. They can't relate with them. And so I'll give you a little bit different story that really, you know, shows this example and proves this model. So about, I guess like maybe a year and a half ago, I bought ballroom dance lessons for my wife and I. So I want to spend more time with her. We got 2 little kids. We don't get a lot of, you know, us time. And so I buy these ballroom dance lessons, and I'm terrible, man. Like, I'm terrible. I go in there and they're like, Ray, do you hear the rhythm? And it's doom, da, da, doom, right? And I'm just like Frankenstein out there. I'm stomping around. I'm forgetting my steps. It's a train wreck. And so, but I'm dedicated, man. I'm gonna do the work. And so I'm going twice a week, every week for 4 months. So 4 months later, I've been going twice a week, every week without missing. Didn't want to go, went anyway, had plenty of excuses, went anyway. So I'm showing up, but I still suck. And I know this is true because there was a guy that came in early, and he's lacing up his shoes, and he was watching me, and he was new too. And when I finish, he comes over to me and my wife and says, I'm so glad I came in early, man, do I feel better. Thanks. And of course, he's not talking to my wife, because she's amazing. She's incredible at everything she does.
So there you go.
So,
there you go, building people's confidence again.
Yeah, unintentionally.
Yeah.
And so, but that was exactly what I needed to hear. It's not what I wanted to hear, but it's exactly what I needed to hear, because that was the kick in the teeth. That was the punch in the gut. And so I went home and I'm like, man, I know all this stuff around business and money making and you know, visualization, and I haven't been using a lick of it. It's like, well, no, this part of my life is different. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
No part of your life is different. It's anything in your life, you need to see it as you wish it were be before it is. And so that night I started going home, or I went home that night, and I started every night just practicing mental rehearsal. I started not my routine, but seeing myself as a good dancer. I started seeing myself glide across the floor, and how would that feel? How would I know it's true? What would that look like? And so I started just mentally rehearsing, not my steps, not trying to remember anything, but just seeing myself to where I want to be. And so about 4 days later, I go in, and both instructors there who I don't think had ever given me a compliment, both gave me a compliment. And you fast forward 6 months, and my wife and I, we come in first place at an international competition in Miami in salsa and cha-cha.
Whoa, are you kidding me?
The instructor said to me, they're like, Ray, I think we got you figured out. And I'm like, okay. And they said, you really weren't getting any better. Sorry. But one day you just like skyrocketed. You just started getting way better, way faster. So that must have been the day that you started practicing at home.
Mm-hmm.
And actually it wasn't. I didn't increase my practice. I didn't start going 3 a day. I didn't start going 3 a week or 4 a week. I stayed to the same 2 a week, but I just changed my mindset and I stopped noticing my missteps. You see, you have people out there that they're trying to do, real estate, and they can't take their eye off their bank account and it's so low. Right? They're trying to see the positive of the deal, but they keep noticing their missteps. They keep noticing what's wrong. They keep noticing what they don't want. And instead, they need to use mental rehearsal. They need to see themselves as a successful entrepreneur, as a successful real estate investor, or whatever it is that they're doing. They need to see that and and stop noticing the missteps.
So you just gave us an example, but let's go back to when you were failing, 2008. Yeah. I was there, brother. Yeah. I went bankrupt, Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I lost everything. Yeah. We were able to hang on to our 2,000 square foot house that we had at the time. A bank probably didn't even want it.
I wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
That too.
My wife said at the time, I remember, it was a house she had built right before I met her, and she said, "Well, honey, we could just move into one of your rental properties." And I'm thinking, this is one of our, our mortgage was $1,400. I'm thinking there's nowhere to go. We can't go down, honey. I mean, and so when you lost everything, give us an idea, because you had to visualize that. You had to visualize being successful in your mind before it actually happened, right?
Yeah. And so, so there were 2 elements there, right? There were 2 main elements there. Because I took it hard, man, and, for a lot of us guys, our, self-worth is our net worth. And so like when that's affected, like all of us, every piece of us gets affected. And so, I was, drinking heavily. I was just depressed. Went into foreclosure, went through divorce, lost everything. I was selling my furniture. I was sleeping on my buddy's couch eventually. And there were 2 elements that changed. The first element.
And Ray, what year was this when you were sleeping on the couch?
That was 2000. That was 2000 and early 2009.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember Christmas of 2008. I remember because I have 2 older sons. I have a 24-year-old and a 23-year-old. And I remember being with them for Christmas, but I wasn't really with them because I was so stressed. I was just like, I remember them saying something to me, and then they're like, "Dad, like I'm just so out of it. I can't focus on anything because I'm just so depressed. I'm just so, just life sucks. I feel like a total failure. I feel like a total loser. I couldn't stand to look in mirrors. Like it was a rough time. And so one interesting thing that happened to me, but it's something that I think will be helpful, is forgiveness. So in 2009, I was trying anything to try to make money. I was going into companies and going cold calling on companies. I was, walking into offices. Hey, I'll do your marketing. I'm trying anything. And I stumble upon this seminar, and someone buys me a ticket to this, 2 or 3 day seminar. And I go there with the thoughts of maybe this will help me make some money. And on day 2, I realized that I have repair relationship with Dad on a to-do list with no priority. I hadn't talked to him in 13 years. He'd never met my sons. And so I call him on day 2 of that seminar. Now I'm broke, foreclosure, all that stuff. And I call him and I just said, "Hey man, I'd like to have a relationship with you. I'd like for you to meet your grandsons." And so he flew me up to Indiana. And
at this time, your kid's 22 and 24. So he never.
They are now. back then it, whatever. They're
I'm
10,
saying
11.
that was 13 years ago. So your dad had never met him.
Never met him.
Wow.
We hadn't talked in 13 years, and they were 10 and 11 years old. He had never.
So he didn't even know he had grandkids.
I don't know. He might have known. He might have known, not through me, but through somebody else.
Now, did your relationship, was that from when you were a kid, and was that from him allowing the stepmom to be abusive towards you?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I had every reason. I mean, I had justifiable reasons of why I didn't have a relationship.
Well, you built boundaries around your life and said, you know what, I don't want that in my life.
That's right. That's right. But when it comes to this kind of scenario, because a lot of times people hear this story, and sometimes people don't want a relationship with whoever. They don't want to forgive. I mean, I think you should forgive regardless of if you want a relationship or not. But here's the question: But
Ray, the forgiveness is for you, not necessarily them, right?
Everyone should forgive. Everyone should forgive. Now, whether you want a relationship or not, that's up to you. Mm-hmm. But to me, the question was, if he dies, would I feel bad if I didn't reach out? And the answer was yes, I would. And so I reached out. He could have said no. He happened to say yes. And so I go up there, and hey, it's not perfect. It's still not perfect. We text back and forth every once in a while. But when I came back, something was different, and I felt like I had released something, like something. I don't know. There was something. Maybe there was some anger that was gone. I don't know exactly what was gone, but something was different. And it was within like a week of that, I jump into an opportunity and go on to become $1 million earner inside of that opportunity. It was a network marketing opportunity. I become the number one income earner. And so two things. Number one, forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And number two, there was, July 14th of 2009, I'm in foreclosure. I had been drinking heavily. I was depressed. Money was just not there. July 15th of 2009, I stopped noticing all that stuff. Because that's the day I started the march to go toward who I was. Wow. Now, most people, they think, well, I'd be different if that outside of me was different. And that's not how it works.
That's right.
You have to change inside. You have to change what you focus on and notice. And then you have to, like you said, build the goal, right? And so I built the goal. I wanted to be the number one earner of that company. And that's what I focused on more than my current situation. I didn't open my bills until I could pay them.
There was nothing you could do about it. I'm not opening them.
Nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
And so, I stopped paying attention to this stuff that was there that I couldn't do anything about.
So basically, guys, what he's saying is if you're one of those people right now and you're getting those bills in the mail, that's firewood. That's it. It's firewood. Put it in there. It's fire. Look, they sent us some more firewood, honey. So, but in a short amount of time.
The key is just like in dance, right? So because there are two exact, correlations here. I stopped noticing my missteps with dance. I stopped beating myself up with ballroom dancing. I stopped beating myself up with foreclosure. I stopped beating myself with being broke. I stopped noticing the things in my life I didn't want and started noticing where I wanted to go.
So that's a major mindset. So that was July 14th of 2009.
Right.
That was your turning moment, was July 15th. Because you're no longer focused on things you couldn't control anymore.
That's right.
You focus on the things you could control, and you envision, you're telling people, envision in your mind. You envision being, now people would have laughed at you. You said, hey, I'm going to be the top salesman. They would have laughed at you, right? Tell us about the numbers.
Yeah, most people didn't know my story because, I just didn't share, because I was, my ego wouldn't let me share until it wasn't years. It was years until I shared that I had been in foreclosure. And so, people may have had an idea, but I just didn't share. But if you had told me even back then, hey, there's going to come a time where you're going to generate, $30 million online. You're going to, own this house, whatever. Right. I would have been like, I don't know about that. Right. I'm going to share all these, Tony Robbins and, Cardone and all these different guys. That would have been hard to believe back then, but it's all come true.
Well, that's amazing, brother. So tell us about the journey, though, because your mind, I think, as you just testified, will get in your way. And I'm sure that wasn't the first moment. I'm sure your mind had to interfere after that, right?
Oh, for sure. Just in different ways, and, everyone has heard this, but, consistency is the key. And here's what I know about entrepreneurs and consistency is there's really two categories of people. There's the person that is psychotically consistent, right? And then there's the person that is motivated, isn't lazy, but they just can't make themselves consistent. And so here's the breakdown of those two categories. So number one, I was psychotically consistent. Like once I got going, I was going. And here's what that looks like. So July 15, 2009, I decided I would do a video a day. And I did a video a day for 12 years, didn't miss a day. And so it was July of 2021. I was at a meditation retreat where I was just like, I'm not doing it today. And so like I've always been psychotically consistent, except when I was in that depressive funk after losing it all. That actually is a coping mechanism. And so for me, I had to prove my worth by putting value in the marketplace, by helping others, by showing up, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but you can have self-worth and be consistent too. So for the hustler, the grinder out there that works like crazy and is never full of joy, never fulfilled, never happy, always thinks the next goal is what's going to make them happy.
Yep.
There's hope. There's hope. And I've helped a lot of workaholics, right? The second category of person, which there's a lot more of, those who struggle with consistency, it's not that you're lazy. It's that you've drawn the wrong conclusion to success based on an observation you made as a kid. So if you had parents that were really successful, but they ignored you, you created a paradigm that with success, you got to ignore the kids. And I don't want my kids to feel like I did. Wow. So let's just sabotage success. Yep. If you had parents that made a lot of money and lost it, it's very likely that you created a paradigm of, I don't want everyone to be embarrassed like that. So if I'm worried about falling off the mountain, then I just never climb it. Right. And so they'll get to a certain point and then they'll stop.
They're afraid of failure.
Yeah, exactly. They're afraid of that fall. So just let's stay low, right? No one cares if you're making a little bit of money. And
we'll never fail. We'll never fail if we never succeed.
That's right.
Wow, that's dangerous. No one will notice. You hear that?
We'll never be embarrassed.
Wow.
And so you have to, and a belief is just a repeated thought. It's just a thought you've had over and over and over and over and over. And so, one of the things that I do every single morning is I wake up and I'm like, okay, what are my thoughts? What am I thinking right now? And I write them down. What are the thoughts I no longer want to have? And I look at my day the day before. And I look at it. Was I kind? Was I present? Was I loving? Did I play big? Did I show up powerfully? Did I accomplish the things I wanted to? Was I disciplined? Did I do the things I wanted to do? What were my thoughts, actions, feelings? And then I look at, okay, for today, how do I want to show up today? What are some words I can use? What are some, how do I want to think today? How do I want to act today? How do I want to feel today? And so I do that every single morning. It doesn't take that long. But what happens is you get to know yourself better. And, to overcome yourself, you got to first know yourself, right? For you to get past some of these are lifelong beliefs, right? For you to get past that, you got to first become aware of them, right? And notice them. And that's, the premise of our next book. It's not out yet, but it's called Defiance, of you becoming defiant to those limiting inner voices, to that limiting inner beliefs, inner thoughts, etc.
So basically, me and you got a lot in mindset alike. I tell people your brain's like a supercomputer. You can program it to do anything it wants to do. And if you can only focus on that, right? So what you're saying is, but hey, that supercomputer, every day you have to defrag it. You know what defragging is? Am I the only one that's old enough to understand that? So, guys,
I remember watching the screen.
Yeah, so back in the days when, you know, and he probably watched a YouTube video because he's a lot younger than me, but the computer used to defrag itself. It would get rid of all the stuff that it didn't want, all the stuff that was going to weigh it down. And you said something that was powerful for me, something I haven't thought about. Hey, I'm going to wake up now. My morning, I got a ritual. I go out to the hot tub. I read a book. You know, I'll do a book a day and have me a coffee. And I'll just think about what I got to do in the day. But I never think about the negative thoughts or the things that I did before that I want to do better. How did I treat my wife? What could I do with my kids? Yes. We were just on a cruise, and my daughter said, out of a 10, she gave me a 9.5. She said, well, you need to spend more time with me, Dad. And then I'm like, oh, okay. So yesterday, we just got back. I'm like, hey, let me take you out. Nah, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm playing virtual reality. I'm like, okay. So it's all my fault though, Ray.
But you're totally getting it because, like, you know, I look at that every day. Did I blow up at my daughter? You know, I got a strong-willed daughter. She's 6 years old, and she'll rule the world, good or bad, you know, when she gets older. And so, like, did I blow up at her? Did I lose my cool? Did I miss a mentoring moment? You know, was I kind to my wife? Was I demanding? You know, one of the days, a couple weeks back, I remember I got to a hotel. I forget where I was, Vegas. I was in Vegas. So I was speaking out in Vegas, got to the hotel. I was super tired. The guy at the hotel, lobby was super kind, super nice. And I was not interested. I don't want to show up that way.
Yep.
You know, and so I noticed those things. And what happens is, you know, with awareness, you can have improvement. If there is no awareness, there is no improvement, right? Mm-hmm. You're just thinking of the same thing over and over and over, showing up the same way over and over and over. And then you're wondering why you're the same. And so it's a very powerful process, but you got it right away. There are definitely days where I look at, man, I need to be kinder to my wife today.
Yeah. So what did you, the guy, you know, because that bothered you, right? The guy at the front door and because, and I just want to tell you, and I know this about you, brother, but I want to tell you something. The thing that really got me to wanting to do social media was I had a guy that came up to me and he was crying and he was hugging me and I'm thinking this is weird. And he told me I saved his life. And I didn't understand at the time, but a few minutes later, it dawned on me that he was one of my contractors. And he said, look, man, he said, I had already made up my mind that day. You stopped in and you talked to me for 15 minutes. I didn't think I did anything special. I just talked to the guy, right? He said, my wife left me. I lost my business. She took the kids. I don't know where they're at. And I made up in my mind that I was going to kill myself that night. And he said, when you talked to me, it gave me hope because I heard your story. And I was like, whoa. So guys, listen, the power of your voice, you never know what other people are going through. He doesn't know what that guy was going through. And that's what he's saying, telling you, I'm reflecting on that. It may be marginal to you what you can say to other people, but it may be huge to them. So let's just try to leave this world a much better place than we came in.
Amen.
Thank you for even thinking about that guy, Ray. And that's amazing. Sure, I mean, you know, just that little thing right there. That little thing right there, man, means a lot.
Right. Yeah, and you know, and in the past, I would have, you know, like friends or you know, business associates pop up in my head, and I'm like, oh, you know, whatever. And now when that happens, I send them a message. You know, like I sent a message to, I won't say his name, but I sent a message to one of my buddies, and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? You popped up in my head, and he's like, dude, I can't believe your timing, man. You know, I just found out my son's on drugs, and he's going through this, and he's going through that, and so, you know, I pointed to some resources and gave him some suggestions and stuff, and so hopefully that, you know, that helps out. But, you know, just paying more attention, you know, to, instead of just the busy, you know, hustle bustle all the time, hustle grind, you know, just paying more attention to your world.
And so for somebody who needs to change their mind, I mean, you have over 15,000 people in your Rainmakers group. It's probably more than that now, right? This is your one pager. How would they get a hold of you if they need their mind rewired? Because Ray can come in and rewire your mind, and you can do amazing things in a short amount of time. And one thing that I'm going to tell all you guys, the more people that I talk to that are hyper successful and have done it in a short amount of time, you hear him talk over and over and over again about going to conferences, right? And surrounding himself around these people who are high-level believers who are paying not in a traditional manner to go to college, but they're getting around other people that are successful that have done it and that have done it at a much higher level. They're high performers. So what is it that you can help people? How would they get a hold of you? How do they join your group?
Yeah. So you can find me on most, social medias at Ray Higdon. If you want to know more about our group, it's called Rank Makers, and that's rankmakers.com. And I'm excited to be speaking at your event, which I know is, coming up here, and that'd be a great opportunity to meet them. And one, last thing before I throw it back to you is here's something we talked about in our last book, Time, Money, Freedom, is we talked about a process called pluck the weeds. And pluck the weeds, some people hear that and they think, oh, get rid of negative people in their life. And, that might be. But pluck the weeds is look at every area of your life, okay, and see what results in your life are incongruent with who you want to be. So you can look at faith, family, finance, fitness, fun, right? And maybe there's more categories, but that covers a lot, right? Faith, family, finance, fitness, fun, right? And so you look at any area of your life that's incongruent with who you actually want to be, and those are weeds that you can focus on, that you can change your mind about. And so for the person that's like, well, I don't know if my mind needs to be changed, don't look at what you think you know. Look at what you have. Look at what's in your life. And what's in your life tells you where you need to focus. Because, there's a guy out there named Vadim Zeland. He's an author. And he says, reality is a slow-moving mirror reflection of what's inside of you. So most people, they try to change what's out there without changing what's in here, and it'll never work. So, when I shave, I don't put shaving cream on the mirror and run my razor across it. That would make no sense. But most people, they're trying to change their bank account without changing their mindset about money. That's right. Never going to work.
Right. That's right.
That's like trying to shave the mirror. Doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Your bank account is a reflection of what your money mindset is. Mm-hmm. And that should give you hope because you have control over that. You can change that.
Hey, what about somebody like me? I'm really good at making money. I understand money is a tool. I'm an investor. I can't kill my tool. But look at the third F, my fitness. Now, that's hard.
That's up to you, man.
Yeah.
That's up to you. You have so that's kind of like my ballroom dancing, right? Mm-hmm. So I knew how to do it all over here, but I didn't know how to do it. It's the same thing actually. And speaking of fitness, I'm now 189 pounds, which is about what I was in high school.
Wow.
A year and a half ago, I was 215, 220.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And before that, I was 230. And so
is it fun being fat?
It's not fun.
I've only been fat. I don't know. So, I've only been fat and fatter.
Yeah. It's if you want to change, right?
Yes.
That's if you want to change.
No, I definitely want.
So it's not a judgment call on my end, but
no, it's not a judgment. But
I feel a lot better.
The fact of the matter is, I don't want to change. I could tell you that I wanted to change, but Ray, if Nate really wanted to change, Nate would do it, right?
That's right.
So there's something about eating that I'm in love with that I love more than losing weight, and so it's action steps, and the same thing with money. What he's telling you guys and what I'm telling you is that it's all action steps.
So for me, and if you're interested at all, for me, eating meant two things. It meant freedom and sticking it to the authority. Because I grew up in a very constricting house where, Nate, I stole food out of my own dad's refrigerator and snuck it outside because I wasn't allowed to eat much. I was starving all the time. I remember throwing a frozen burrito on the rocks in the summer of Indiana and eating that crap way before I should have. I was just so hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got out of that house, I used to, every night I would dream about McDonald's, and I would dream going in there and getting everything that I wanted. And so when I got out of that environment, I ballooned up. I gained like 40, 50 pounds almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because I was free. I could do what I want.
Yeah.
And I was taking eating as freedom, and I was sticking it to the authority, not realizing that, my higher self was the authority. I was sticking it to me.
Yep.
And so that change in understanding, I'm like, oh, well, freedom is being able to pass the jelly donuts and not eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom is being able to see that last piece of delicious pizza and not eat it, throw it away. And so for me, freedom now means something very different. It means control. It means mastery. And so that's what I was after. But that, there's never a judgment. Someone's happy, they're happy, whatever.
No, so, but, I think that me and you, not passing judgment, could say that, who wants to be obese, right? Like, is that a goal for people? Not really. But it comes down to discipline, right? Same way with money. And so going back to your July 15th day.
Yeah.
You came out and you set the world on fire, brother. Tell us about how quick you started making money doing
Yeah. So there were three things that I did every day. And that is, one, I'd read a book called Go for No. And to me, it's like, it kind of made sense. You have a no goal, right? Just to build up two things, really: your resistance to rejection and your reaction to rejection. So, I'm not going to go eat a bowl of ice cream if someone tells me no. I don't care. It's not a big deal. It doesn't mean I don't care about them. I just don't care about the no. And I'm not so worried about, the no. So I read it and I go for 20 no's a day every day. And so before my head hits a pillow, I have to hear 20 people tell me no. And that doesn't mean, maybe, or, a non-response. Like, that's actual no's before my head hits a pillow every single day. I do that for, 6 months straight. And then I kind of stopped tracking because things were started taking off so much. I hated prospecting, but I didn't have a list. I didn't have an email, anything, any kind of following or big brand or anything like that. And so I started doing a video a day, because I figured if I start doing a video a day, eventually someone's going to see these damn videos and start reaching out to me. And the third thing was self-development. And so every day I had to, back then I'm broke, so I have to, reread Think and Grow Rich, or watch a YouTube video, or, or something like that. And so doing those three things, 5 months in, I was at $10,000 a month in that company. 7 months, $40,000.
So by New Year of 2010, you were off the couch, brother.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it was. Now I was still, I forget the term, but I was still like financially shocked. So I was still like hoarding money.
Yeah, you
like
scarcity mindset.
Yeah, lose it again.
Yeah, you still had the scarcity mindset. Like, I don't know. So
yeah,
and the viewers want to know.
$50,000 a month.
Hey, they want to know, where's the guy whose couch you slept on, man? Where's he at now?
We're still friends. His name's Sean. I mean, I went to high school with him.
Hey, thank you, Sean. Now, did you have to go back to Indiana to sleep on the couch?
What's that?
Did you have to go back to Indiana to sleep on the couch?
No, I don't know. I don't think he's still in that house, but he lived in Cape Coral.
Oh, okay.
Which is where I went to high school. And so,
okay. You went to Cape. Got it.
Yeah. And so yeah, man. And then,
thank you, Sean.
Yeah. And then had my first $1 million year in 2013.
Whoa.
First $1 million month, 2014. First $1 million.
Wait. First $1 million month in 2014.
First $1 million month in 2014. First $1 million day in 2015.
That is amazing, brother.
And that was at, we had an event. I was selling coaching. We broke the 7-figure mark that day. So it was, you could call it a weekend, but it was really that day. I mean,
that was that day. Yeah. Wow, man. That is amazing, brother. So it's all mindset, isn't it, brother?
It is at all times. And as soon as you don't think it is, it is. And because here's what I see in the marketplace is, people they have things in their life they don't like. And so they seek strategy, they seek tactics, they seek scripts, they seek, what's the words to say, or who's the connection. But if they don't get their mind right, they're only going to get so much out of all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like one of my paradigms was I would constantly see myself as not a priority. So every relationship I would find, business relationship, personal relationship, I would, find, oh, I'm not a priority. And so it sabotaged a lot of stuff. A lot of people that meant me well, I would find something negative, and I would mess up that business relationship or personal relationship. Fortunately, way back when in 2011, I married an amazing woman, remarried, and she was with me through thick and thin. I mean, she was actually paying my utility bills, working at the makeup counter while I was trying to figure things out. And we've now been
awesome, brother.
10 years last year.
Man, that is amazing, brother. I'll tell you, man. Your story resonates with me in more ways than one. My wife, she helped me get sober in 2006, and
wow.
When I went bankrupt, man, she she said if I'm going to raise a family, I don't want to work. I hate corporate America. I said, well, quit. That resonates with me when you say that, because my father worked for 43 years on a railroad, and he was an alcoholic, and he's comes out broke. And so I hated corporate America because we never got to go on a vacation as a kid, never. And it was corporate America's fault. No, really, it was my father's fault. But, and so that resonates with me. But my wife, she was my rock, brother. And she told me, awesome. When the sheriff's over there serving all these papers, and, every day, man, I had probably 30, 40 properties that were foreclosed on. So they were every day serving us papers. And I don't answer the door. Don't sign for that, because,
that's right.
Back in the day, you think if you don't sign for it, they can't take your property. Well, that's a lie. So when she found that out, she said, I'm going to go back and get my job back. And that was like, to me, that was brutal, because I felt like I'm letting you down as a man. I felt like someone kicked me in the balls, brother. And I was like, I grabbed myself like, Nate, you got to get up and make this happen. She is not going back to work.
Wow.
And,
I
worked 18, 20-hour days, man. I just worked tirelessly. And I had a 400 credit score like you talked about. And 400 credit score and no money. And that was in 2013 when I came out of bankruptcy. In 2014, I bought 28% of all the multifamily that traded in Cincinnati. And people say, how'd you do it? You just figure out a way to make it happen. You find out what you don't have, and you go find somebody who has that, right?
That's right.
Same thing, Ray. It's all mindset, brother.
But it starts first with the mindset.
It starts with the mindset. I didn't think, well, I can never own another property again. I thought, well, how can I own another property again?
That's right.
Well, I don't have a good credit score. Well, he does. Hey, man, you want to sign for some debt? I'll give you some equity. Where are we going to get the down payment? I don't know. You got any money? It's like, so it's that same thing, man. And you guys out here.
Focus on what you want. It made sense.
So tell us about some of the success stories, because you have been highly successful and that you've impacted many, 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 many of lives, man. Tell us what you're able to do with your program, brother.
Yeah. We, so our kind of bread and butter, program is, for those that work from home, solo entrepreneurs, network marketers, et cetera. And, we started that back in 2017. We started tracking the success in 2018. And so, since then, we've helped them generate over 300,000 new customers, and just crush it in all kinds of different businesses, insurance, real estate, network marketing, et cetera. And it's just, it's been awesome. It's been awesome, watching people transform and watching people, really make it happen. For a lot of our students, we've helped them figure out their paradigms, figure out what's been holding them back. So I'll give you an example. I can give you quite a few examples, but I'll give you two. I'll give you two examples I think will help the listeners. One, I was coaching this lady, and she would start a career and just skyrocket to the top, just crush it, make it rain, absolutely awesome. And then she would find something's wrong. She would leave, go start over, crush it again. So her career looked like this. And you may know, people like that, right? You're like, oh, wow, they're finally doing really good. And this one, they seem like, oh, they're gone. Oh, okay. And so I know that that has something to do with an observation they made earlier in life. And so I asked her, said, tell me about your parents. Like, what was that like? And she go, oh my God, they're perfect. They've been, together 30 years. They're amazing. They never mistreated me. No trauma, no abuse, no nothing. I'm like, wow, okay. And I just sensed that there was something else there. And I was like, well, hey, listen, if you can't remember anything, then, that's fine. And that's when it hit her. She accessed something that she had completely blocked. And that is, she actually caught her mom cheating on her dad as a little girl. Wow. And so, and I told her, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. And she goes, well, what does that have to do with my career? I'm like, everything, right? So for her paradigm was, and no longer is, but her paradigm was, as soon as I start to feel really good and confident about something, something's bad about to happen, and the rug's about to be pulled out from under me. So I wasn't in control as a kid. I'm in control now. Let me leave.
Wow.
So she would do this, crush it in this career. Everyone would be applauding her. Way to go. Wow. Amazing. You broke records. And all of a sudden that feeling of how she felt as a kid, wanting to prevent ever feeling out of control again, she would take control. She would leave. And so that's why her career was like that. Wow. Now it's not.
Wow. So that's totally amazing. Now, how did you learn how, because I can hear kind of what you said, how disciplined you are. That came from the structure that you had. You were over-structured as a kid, right? But you were able to take and turn that around, and you were able to streamline that and turn it into part of your success story. So basically, how did you learn the psychology part of everything?
Part of it, like everything, like ballroom dancing, like money, like everything, is just saying that I have that ability and saying that I can figure that out. And, this is something that I really fought for a long time. I didn't think I could figure that kind of stuff out. And I'm like, just like, you know what? It's important for me to figure it out. I'm going to figure this out.
So you worked on it.
Seeing myself as someone who can help people at that level. I'll give you another example. I remember when we were promoting our book, Time, Money, Freedom, we put some golden tickets in some of them. And so if you got a golden ticket, you get a 10-minute call with me, right? Pretty cool. And so I get on this 10-minute call with this lady, and she's been stuck at in her home business at like $4,000 a month for years, like 4 years. So wow. She'll creep up to that 4,000 and just, she can't get past it. It'll go up and down, but never past that upper limit. And so I started asking her some questions, and she had used the word disappointed. And I said, well, who disappointed you as a kid? And she said, well, maybe not disappointed, but shame. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And she said, well, my mom was a prostitute. And I'm like, okay. And I said, do a lot of people know this? Like, do local people know this, and people connected to you know this? And she goes, oh yeah, they all know it. And she's still alive. I'm like, got it. I know what your problem is. And she's like, what? And I said, well, your problem is that you believe that if you if you go higher than how you've been showing up, if you start to really make money, the locals and the family members will get jealous and try to bring you down by bringing up your mom's past, which will bring shame to your living mom, which you would do anything in the world to prevent. And she starts crying, and she's like, oh my God, you're totally right. And I said, but there's another way to look at this. And that is, your mom did everything in the world, a lot of things she didn't want to do, for you to have a better life. And it's a slap in the face if you don't.
Wow. Yes.
So she reached out to me about 3 months later, and she was at 98,000 volume in her business. So it was, whatever that is, 20X or 30X or 20X, 25X. So she 25X'd her income. She's crushing it like never before. She even had a conversation with her mom.
In 3 months, she 25X'd?
In 3 months, she 25X'd after being stuck for years. And she had a conversation with her mom, and her mom was like, absolutely, baby. Don't worry about me. I'm a big girl. I went through that stuff. And
man.
The only thing I want in my life is for you to have a better life.
That is amazing, Ray. That's amazing, brother.
You don't always have to figure out the past thing that triggered you, but you do have to figure out what is holding me back. What are my thoughts? What am I thinking? How am I acting? How am I feeling? You do have to figure that out, because for you to overcome yourself, which that's the battle, you have to know yourself. And so it's getting to learn that. And some of that knowledge came from one of my mentors, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I always like to give him a shout out because I've gotten so much benefit from him, learned meditation through him, and I've learned a lot from him as well.
Well, Ray, man, that is an awesome story, brother. And I am just blown away at your ability to be able to see people and see the problem and that quickly. I mean, that's a gift and a talent, brother. I mean, you may say that you studied that, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of people study a lot of things, but it doesn't come to them like natural. That's a gift and talent, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So, man, anybody who's looking to lever up, man, lever up their life, man, tell them again how they get a hold of you. And let's see the book that you got. You got a copy of that? Can you show us that and tell them where to get that book at?
Yeah, so this is our latest book. It's called Time, Money, Freedom. I wrote it with my wife. It's 10 simple rules to redefine what's possible and radically reshape your life. So in it, we detail, one, how I went from foreclosure, dead broke, to making millions of dollars and spending more time with my family, being more present. And she details, her process through this, when she went from working at the makeup counter to the #1 female earner in a company. And now she's actually crushing it in real estate. She flipped a lot of real estate last year. She's been crushing it. And so it's a book, we don't assume that you're super successful already. We assume you're not, or that there's areas of your life you want to improve. And you can get this on Amazon. Let's call it.
And the name of that again?
Time, Money, Freedom.
Time, Money, Freedom, guys. Go get the book. When's that going to be out? That one's already out?
This one is out. One is out. Our next book is called Defiance. That one is not out yet.
Okay. So look out for that one, guys. Hey, Ray, look, man, I look forward to having you at the conference, man, the Bird 360 conference. You're going to crush it, going to change some mindsets. Sure. You've been there. You know how to get through it, man. I appreciate and thank you so much for being on the podcast, and look forward to meeting you next month in person, brother.
For sure, man. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you, brother. Lever Up. Get over there, too. It's called Rank Makers on Facebook, right? And we're going to put the links below.
Rankmakers.com.
Rankmakers.com. We're going to put the links below. Thank you again so much, Ray. You have an amazing week, brother.
Appreciate it. You too.
Yep. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Lever Up Your Life. If you could do me a huge favor and go lever up my reviews, leave me a 5-star review. I appreciate it. And if you guys want to keep the conversation going, reach out to me on Nate.Barger on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And get in our free Facebook group. We got over 200,000 members. BRRRR Invest. We'll see you in the next episode.